All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in to our program this morning. My name is Pat Kane, Public Programs Visitor Services Coordinator here at the Museum of the Grand Prairie in Champaign County Forest Preserve District. Katie, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Katie Snyder from Museum of the Grand Prairie in the Champaign County Forest Preserve District.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you all again for joining us for this special live Q&A about the museum's Healing Hearts COVID Community Collage project. Going to learn a whole lot about this special project taking place this summer and how you can get involved out there in the community. Before we do get into that, I just wanted to go over a few things before we get started. Let us know where you're watching from by writing down in the comments section below where you're tuning in from. Always like to see where folks are watching from. Our good friend Perry is tuning in from Urbana. Always good to see Perry. Thanks for tuning in, Perry. So everyone else out there, let us know where you're watching from, whether you're tuning in live this morning or maybe watching this recording at a later time. Also, if you have any questions, this is a live Q&A. It's designed to be a live question and answer session. Write those in the comment section below. We love questions, so send those in, and we'll answer questions live here during the course of the program. Lastly, we encourage you all to come out, and if you haven't done so already, check out our newest special exhibit, A History of Healing. Check it out very soon. It is now open. It's been open for about a month now, and the Museum of the Grand Prairie is open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. during the summer, and we're also open on Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m. during our summer hours. So come on out to the museum if you're local and check out this very special new exhibit we have on display. You can learn more about us by finding us on social media or visiting museumofthegrandprairie.org to find a whole bunch of other information. Okay, with that, let's jump into today's program, and I'll be asking Katie a series of questions. But again, I don't have to be the only one asking questions. Send us in your questions, and we'll answer those live as well. So first off, Katie, to get us going, could you tell us a little bit more about this new special exhibit, A History of Healing? Could you describe it for us? Let us know what it's all about.
Yeah, sure, Pat. So here at Museum of the Grand Prairie, we always look at national historical happenings, but through a local Champaign County lens. So this exhibit covers all sorts of pandemics, things that may be in some people's memories and also things that probably aren't. There are things like cholera, smallpox, HIV, AIDS, the 1918 flu pandemic, polio, just a host of different pandemics. And that sounds like a bit of a downer, but what we did is kind of look at how the local community responded and reached out and helped each other through these different trying times in history, down to and including COVID that we're still living through today.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the parallels and the similarities, between past pandemics and epidemics and still what we're currently going through. We look at some of these things, and when we were doing the research and the curation for it, we're like, this sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the first time that people have worn masks to protect themselves, not the first time that massive vaccination campaigns have taken place worldwide. So it's very interesting in this history of these infectious diseases to see all of these things that seem very familiar to us.
And people have mentioned to me the quarantine as well. We pretty much did our own quarantine, but some of the signs we have where, households were quarantined, entire mobile home communities were quarantined with giant signs. It wasn't as subtle back then. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
And in several sections of the exhibit, as you mentioned, we highlighted in the exhibit many ways that the community came together and,
Right.
to help fight these diseases, or at least, build some community and build some camaraderie during these previous epidemics and pandemics. And we're still seeing that in today's day and age. And we even have a specific sort of way we're trying to bring the community together with this Healing Hearts COVID Community Collage project. So Katie, could you tell us a little bit about what this project is all about?
Sure. So in our temporary exhibits, for a little bit of time now, we've always tried to bring the community stories out, but trying to bring that directly from the community lately. And for instance, with our last exhibit about women's rights, we had some young women from a group called Sisterhood make a mural. Well, we wanted to do something similar to give voice of the experience to the community. And so many different things have happened in the last 2 years. There have been so many convergent pandemics, and so many people have been going through so many different things, both individually and collectively, that we wanted to give voice to that and have that come directly from the community. So we landed upon making a collage because so many different things have happened. We're going to have an artist, Cindy Sampson. She's been working in this community for 20 plus years doing collage art. She's also a painter, a jeweler, a whole lot of things. But she's going to take everything that people give us and compile it into one cohesive collage, which will not only be part of this exhibit for the next couple of years, but then will also, which I think is really exciting, become part of the permanent collection here at Museum of the Grand Prairie. So in 50 years, if somebody wants to look at what were people thinking about, what were people feeling during that pandemic, they can get some real feedback from all of us right now with our voices. We're asking people to think about not only COVID-19 and all the different things that came with COVID-19, like not only being sick, but grief. A lot of us lost somebody through COVID-19, being isolated, fear for yourself, fear for your loved ones, but other kinds of things that happened during that time. And probably it all was a perfect storm, right? Systemic racism, other isms and other injustices, social injustices, the economic crisis that was going on and is still going on. People lost their jobs, their homes, food insecurity, climate change is a big concern. And a big concern that's kind of come to the forefront are mental health challenges. Gun violence is a huge concern in our community, and political polarization. Now, once again, that all sounds like downers, and in lots of ways it is. But some of the submissions we've been getting are ways in which people have worked to try to make those challenges better. Things people have done in the last 2 years, either by themselves or together in community, to try to help their community to rise above some of these really challenging things that are going on. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take all those things, put them together in one cohesive collage. And really what it turns out like depends on you all, what people want to give us. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible. And we hope a lot of people submit, because we don't want this just to be from a certain group. We want it to be all ages, all races, all ethnicities, people. We want it to be representational of the people of Champaign County.
Yeah, I think what's really cool about this is, as you mentioned, people are not only going to have this on, be a part of this display for this current exhibit that will only be up for a short period of time, but, be a part of history. It'll go into our museum collection, be one of the, 26,000 plus things that are in our museum's collection that people will look to, much farther into the future to get an idea, to get a glimpse into, what life was like here in, the 2020s, 2020,
Yeah.
2021, 2022-ish, somewhere around there.
And it's just one more thing about that, what you just said, Pat, it's different for everybody, right? So if we just went in and tried to interpret COVID-19 like we did for our exhibit, that's kind of one lens or two lenses or three lenses or however many people's thoughts we get. But the thing that I like about this is it's multifaceted, lots of different points of view, which I think could be really, really important and impactful in the future.
And I'm sure, everybody out there, has something that they have that reminds them of, the various things that you mentioned that we're currently going through and have gone through in recent years, that could be a part of the project. So let's get into, if folks are wondering, how could they participate? What are some examples of some things that we've gotten already? And just to give folks an idea of what they may be able to submit.
Right. Oh, yeah. And let me just mention real quick. So the artist we're working with, Cindy Sampson, she's asked that everything be able to be on paper. I know like people might have masks at home or on their desks that they could contribute, but we're looking for paper submissions. So that could be a picture of something, and she'd like them to be no larger than 8 inches by 8 inches. And I'm sure we'll put that stuff in the comment section in a bit. But this is something that a lot of us in Urbana really enjoyed. I live in Urbana, really enjoyed checking out Theo's Museum of Interesting Things during the pandemic. A little boy named Theo put together his own little museum of things that he thought were interesting, and it would change. It was during the big lockdown when the schools were closed, and he would add to it. He'd take things away. Sometimes people would leave notes. It was a really cool thing when we were out. Just remember how everybody was taking walks all the time? I would always try to go by Theo's Museum of Interesting Things. Now, I didn't take this picture. Someone else did. I think a lot of people in Urbana might be familiar with this. This is a picture of the amazing Julie Pride from CU Public Health. This was election day at Brookins, and Julie was there ready to accept ballots from people who currently had COVID. So she was able to do that in a safe way in the parking lot so that everyone was able to vote, which was really cool, I thought. During the pandemic, we were all very thankful for our healthcare workers. And this is just a mural somebody put on the side of their house. Apparently this is not painted. They cut it out and put it up on their wall of their house. So it wasn't permanent, but it's during a time where a lot of us were doing, and our museum did this with Cranor Art Museum and some other agencies, Hearts for Healing. Remember when people were putting hearts on their windows for healthcare workers? Hearts for Healthcare Workers, that was it. So I think that was during this time.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said with Theo's Museum of Interesting Things. I remember that point in the pandemic where the only thing that you could do was put stuff up in your windows or on your house, and then take these walks and look at things outside. That was like the big happening thing to do at the time.
Right. And it was nice. I'd walk around different neighborhoods. I would drive my car to different neighborhoods and check out the hearts in different neighborhoods. Yeah. Doesn't take much to feel. I mean, I think that made people feel connected, even though we were apart. Oh, they're doing that too. Oh, they're thankful for healthcare workers too. Oh, this was the last Pride Festival. So Pride is obviously in June nationally, but here in Champaign-Urbana, we tend to celebrate it in September when the students come back. So this was one of the very first big gatherings a lot of us went to, where people were actually together in the same place outside. And I found it was a very compliant event. They were handing out a lot of rainbow masks. Almost everybody was masked, even though we were outside. During that time, we were still masking a lot outside. And this, of course, is our heroes from public health in the Pride Parade. This is, I'm glad you showed this, Pat, because I want people to know that if they made a piece of art, we have a lot of artist friends, and maybe it's large, you can take a photo of that and send that to us, and that way we can include that in our in our collage. Now, this one is specifically about some props you probably had next to your workstation at home, and everybody did, right? But it doesn't have to be this specifically related to COVID, but this is great. I'm glad we're going to be able to include this. We'd love more things like that, more art. Obviously, voting was a big deal in our last presidential election, and political polarization was a big deal, and still is. But I really like this sign because it's homemade, right? Somebody just made a homemade sign, put it up in their yard, and I think it's really impactful. This is a piece of art by Janelle Davenport Pleasure. She was responding to gun violence in the community. This was up in the Randolph Street Gardens for a period of time, and then it was on display in Spurlock Museum for a while, and she's generously shared this photo, which will become part of our collage. Oh, this is a virtual art exhibit a lot of us did. The museum here, Cranard Art Museum, Shambana Moms, Coop Adventure Play, Urbana Arts and Culture program, and I probably am forgetting somebody. Oh, and all the art teachers in Champaign and Urbana, and we called it Art in a Time of Quarantine. So when we were in the big lockdown, art teachers asked students to submit to this, and we had a lovely exhibit. We also did one the following spring, which we didn't expect to have to do because we thought we were going to be done with that thing, but we weren't, called Pandemics Are a Portal to Change. And Pat, that is actually running on one of the TVs next to the COVID exhibit. So if you were part of Pandemics Are a Portal to Change, you can come out to our current exhibit and see that all run through and see your artwork. Oh, I love this one. So this is one of the employees here at the museum visiting with his mother in a nursing home. So I don't know how long people weren't allowed to go in and see their loved ones in a nursing home, but I know it was a really, really long time. So he talked to me about how he would visit with his mother through the window. He'd have his phone, but this was the only contact they had for, I don't know, I think it was close to a year. And I think a lot of other people probably went through that as well. Some people like me, I have a older mother who may be watching. She's 98 years old. We just mostly talked on the phone. Sometimes I'd drive 2 hours to Chicago, hang out with her on her patio, and then, try not to use her bathroom before I got back on the road. It was hard to see your older loved ones.
It's a real touching image. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful? I'm so glad he shared that. We also did a thing called Haikus from Home with a lot of those same agencies that we collab. We got one great thing, Pat, which I see as a huge silver lining, is we had all these really great community collaborations we were able to do.
Oh, yeah.
Shambana Moms, Cranard Art Museum, Cranard Center for the Performing Arts, when we did that sing a song, the Sing from Home thing. Urbana Arts and Culture program, Coop Adventure Play, all these partners just kept on wanting to do things. Like you in regular life or normal life or whatever this is we're doing now, people are so busy, right? But we were all looking for ways to connect, and all looking for ways to connect our patrons to their patrons. So all these beautiful, beautiful things came out of it. And one thing was Haikus from Home. And so people submitted their haikus, and we shared them out on our various social media platforms. So this was a great one. Who wasn't thinking that, right? I've been home for 20, or I suspect more.
Yeah, and that was it. The timestamp on there, April 4th. So that's probably, what is that, like a month or so into the pandemic, because it started.
It didn't start on March.
mid-March or something like that.
I feel like and I could be wrong. If Barb was on here, she'd know exactly. Barb is our director. I feel like it was Friday the 13th.
I think you're right.
I feel like I was like, whoa, is this a dream? Because we were like all watching the announcement on the smart board, and it was a Friday the 13th. It seemed a little odd. But yeah. So yeah. This is a friend of the museum, Sam Smith, working with some youth to erect peace poles, which Sam is from Cranard Center from the Performing Arts, and they went to High Hope neighborhoods where gun violence had been prevalent and made and erected these peace poles, which are still up and around in different High Hope neighborhoods. So that's a pretty impactful image right there. I loved these things these food pantries that were just popping up, right? This one was in Champaign. Somebody took a little greenhouse that they had. They put it on social media. They put it on a social media platform that I feel was really important during the pandemic was the CU COVID, and I'm not going to even be able to remember the name, which is silly because I was a moderator for it. Do you know what I'm talking about, Pat?
So mutual aid, like
Facebook. Mutual aid, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And people would put different things like this up. Oh, I'm going to start a food pantry. Can anybody come and help me? Can you put some stuff in it? And we would like drive by separately, put some things in it. People would come and get what they needed. They were in neighborhoods. There was the one that was by the barbershop that now is by the city building in Champaign that remains. Some of them still remain. And I think that it was a really great way for community to be able to just get right out there with community. I know we have some really great food banks in town, and we could not do it without, people couldn't do what they do without them, but this was more of a grassroots kind of situation that I thought was really lovely to see spring up. This is a upcoming program we're having. We're collaborating with Urbana Free Library. Urbana Arts and Culture Program is helping us with this because we thought it would be great to have community come together to work on some submissions for the Healing Hearts collage. Now, obviously, you don't have to do that. You can just send us your exhibit. But if you would like to be together with other people and make something, this is for teens and adults, and it'll be Sunday, July 10th at the Urbana Free Library from 2 to 4. And we're going to have 3 artists that are going to be there that can help you with some ideas and how to get started. If you're thinking, oh, I'd really love to do this, but I can't quite think of what I could do. So we're America Robeldo Hernandez. She's going to do some painting with you all. Denalia Nash is going to do spoken word poetry. So we would love to have some poems as part of this collage. And Cindy Sampson is the artist in the center who is the one who's going to be putting everything together. And she's going to help people do some simple little collaging pieces. So you can take those pieces home with you if you don't want to contribute them to the collage, but we hope that people will make 2 and contribute 1 to the collage and take 1 home.
So there's, we have this opportunity for folks to participate in this event together. And Katie, you mentioned that if, you don't have to come to that event, but if you would like to submit a piece, could you talk a little bit more about the details on how to do that?
Yeah, sure. So we have a Google form that I think you're going to share for us, Pat.
I just dropped it in the comments.
Okay, it's a very simple Google form that we'd like you to fill out. It's just like your name, what town do you live in, tell us a little bit about your piece and a way to contact you. We would like that. We'd like to have that because in the future, as this becomes a primary source document, we want historians to be able to see who contributed and what they were thinking. Because, like when all those pictures came up, Pat showed all those pictures, I just said like a sentence or two about each one of them. So that's really all we need. And then you can send your submissions to me. And I think Pat's going to share, send it to me. You can, take a picture and just send it as an attachment. We, of course, would also accept actual paper submissions if you wanted to bring it to the Museum of the Grand Prairie. However, I'm also available to pick up things in Champaign County on most Wednesdays. If somebody wants to arrange for that, just give me a call at that number or email me, and I'd be happy to do like a contact-free porch pickup for you. Pretty much whatever works. We want to make it as easy as possible so folks do feel empowered to submit. I should say a really important part of this is we have to have a start date and a stop date, so Cindy has time to put the piece together. So we are collecting in June, and we're still in June, and we're collecting in July, but then we have to close it down because we're going to give Cindy the month of August to put it all together. It's very interesting as I've talked to her about this, because she's like, this is so different for me because I can usually gather my collage pieces myself, and we have to just kind of see what comes in and then get a creative spin out of that. So we're giving her, she's going to have a month to put it together, and then we'll do a separate opening in September that we will invite the general community out to, but we also want to send a special invitation to everybody who does submit something, which is another reason we'd like contact info. Oh, and really big thing to just emphasize again, I know I already said this, but paper submissions no larger than 8 by 8 inches. It can be smaller, just no larger. She's going to do this on 4 panels so that they can be stored in our artifact storage later on. So they just can't be really, really large.
So lots of ways for people to participate in this, community art project, collage project here, and it'll be a part of history, as we mentioned. So reach out to the museum, reach out to Katie, fill out one of those Google forms, bring something in, participate in that program at Urbana Free Library. There's a lot of ways for you to get involved here, and we need you to be involved, as Katie mentioned, because we want this to be representative of the community. And in order to do that, we need to get some submissions from you.
Right. And if something really touched you during those 2+ years that we didn't have on that list when we were trying to think of all the multiple pandemics, please, it's not limited to these. Just so that people know, it can be visual art, it can be a photograph, it can be a poem, it can be song lyrics. We got some beautiful song lyrics. Pretty much anything that you can take a picture of or make a document and send it to us. And if, then we can play around with it and make it the right size.
Cool. Well, I'm not seeing any questions coming in, but I think that brings us to the end here. Katie, any last words, anything else?
No, just like you said, Pat, we need you. We really want it to be multi-generational, multicultural. We really want it to be representational of the very diverse community here in Champaign County. So everyone is welcome. Cindy would like 1 submission from each person just so that, everybody's voices can be heard. But tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your best friend, tell your friend you only see sometimes. Pass the word, because we need everybody's help to get the word out there as well.
All right. Well, thanks, Katie, for taking time out this morning to provide some more info on this project. Thanks for taking the lead on this project as well. I think it's going to turn out really, really awesome, and I'm excited to see, the final product and the process. The process is, the journey is just as fun as the destination. Most times for me. So
this has been really interesting, hasn't it, Pat?
Yeah,
We had this idea and we're like, how can we do that? And then just kind of figuring it out as we go, and people weighing in and giving us ideas, and so far so good. Knock some wood or something. We're hoping for big things. So
yeah. It'll turn out great, and but we need some more. So again, submit some stuff to us. Thank you all for watching, whether you're watching live or watching the recording. If you have any questions at a later time, feel free to put those in the comments and we can address those even after this live stream's over. But thank you all for tuning in. For myself and for Katie, we'll see you next time, and hope to see you out at the museum, and hope to see you submit a beautiful piece, or just, anything that you would like to submit for this project.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye, everybody.